I learned my husband cheated on me with my own sister, and then my whole family acted like I was the problem. But karma did not forget what they did to me. Before I tell the story, I will say the same kind of opening you see in story videos. Please write in the comments which city you are watching from. Please subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you do not miss more stories. And leave a like on the video. Now the story begins. That Tuesday started like any other workday, except I woke up with a headache that felt wrong. It did not feel like normal stress. It felt like a heavy, sharp pressure behind my eyes. At the office, the lights looked too bright and too cold. Every sound felt louder than it should. I tried to focus on spreadsheets and reports, but the pain kept growing until I felt sick. I work in corporate accounting, and in that world people do not leave early. They pretend they are fine and they push through. But that day, my boss took one look at my face and said I needed to go home. He did not argue. He insisted. That almost never happens at my job, so I felt oddly grateful. I drove home through afternoon traffic with my hands tight on the steering wheel. I kept thinking I would take medicine, lie down, and sleep for a few hours before my husband came home. I pictured silence, darkness, and relief. We lived in one of those new subdivisions where every few houses look the same. The lawns are trimmed and the paint colors repeat. Like a copy and paste neighborhood. I pulled into my driveway and I remember looking at the clock in my car because I thought I would have plenty of time alone. I had the exact minute in my head because I felt sure I was safe for a while. The front door was unlocked and that did not alarm me. My husband worked from home most days, so the house being open was normal. But when I looked toward the garage, his car was not there. I assumed he stepped out for groceries or a quick errand. I walked inside through the entryway and dropped my purse onto the table like I always do. The house smelled normal. Like clean laundry and the candle I had lit that morning. Everything looked ordinary. Then I heard something that did not belong. At first it was just low voices from the living room, and I thought maybe a work call was playing on the television. But then I heard laughter and my body reacted before my mind could explain it. It was my sister's laugh. There are many kinds of laughter. You know, the laugh of a friend, the laugh of a stranger, the laugh of someone who is only being polite. I knew my sister's laugh the way you know your own name. It was warm and familiar and it should have felt safe. But in that moment it felt like a warning. My feet moved forward by themselves. I did not decide to walk. My body did it for me. Part of my brain was still innocent and still trying to protect me. It kept offering simple explanations. Maybe she stopped by to visit. Maybe she came to borrow something. Maybe they were planning a surprise for me. But my hands started shaking before I even reached the doorway. My stomach dropped and I felt cold in my chest like the air had turned to ice. I stepped into the living room and everything in my life split into before and after. They were on the couch together. The couch I picked. The couch where we watched movies and ate pizza and talked about our plans. My husband's shirt was on the floor like it had been thrown off without care. My sister's dress was pulled up around her waist. They did not notice me at first. They were too focused on each other. It was like I was invisible in my own home. I stood frozen in the doorway, unable to speak, unable to breathe. When my sister finally turned her head and saw me, she did not jump away. She did not cover herself. She did not look shocked or ashamed. She simply stopped and looked at me with an expression that still haunts me. She looked annoyed. Like I interrupted something important. Like I was the one being rude. My husband sat up slowly. He did not rush. He did not scramble for excuses. He did not look panicked. He looked tired, like someone who had been waiting for this moment and did not feel like acting anymore. I heard my own voice ask how long, and it sounded far away like it belonged to someone else. My husband reached for his shirt and said that it did not matter. He said it like the question was childish, like I was missing the point. My sister stood up and fixed her dress with calm hands. She spoke in a casual tone and said they did not plan it, that it just happened. Her calmness made me feel sick. I asked again how long, and my husband answered in a flat voice. He said it had been going on for more than a year, give or take. More than a year. I could not understand the size of that truth at first. I just stood there while my mind tried to count the days and failed. For more than a year I worked long weeks to help pay off his student loans. For more than a year I planned family dinners where we all sat at the same table. I smiled at both of them. I served food. I laughed at jokes. I invited my sister into my home like she belonged. For more than a year I showed her pictures of vacation places and asked which resort would be best for our anniversary. I asked her opinions like she was my trusted friend. And all that time they were lying to me, and they were not even careful enough to keep it away from my couch. Then my sister said something that stunned me even more. She said she was not going to apologize. Her chin lifted like she was proud. She said you cannot help who you fall in love with. Love. She called it love. My mouth moved and I said she was my sister, as if that fact alone should stop reality from happening. She looked at me and said something cruel and confident. She said he was never really mine in any way that mattered. Then she blamed me. She said I was always busy, always working, always thinking about my career. She said someone had to be there for him. My husband did not defend me. He did not contradict her. He stood there buttoning his shirt and looking at me with something like pity, as if I was the foolish one for not seeing it earlier. I told them both to get out. I said it was my house and I wanted them gone. My husband answered in a calm voice that it was his house too. He said legally I could not just throw him out. So I said fine. Then I will leave. And that was it. No begging. No crying from either of them. No dramatic apology. No promise to fix it. My sister picked up her purse and kissed my husband on the cheek right in front of me. Then she walked past me without another word. My husband followed later and left in his own way like this was just a schedule change. I stayed in that living room after they left separately and I could not move. The sun still came through the windows. Dust floated in the light like nothing happened. The throw pillows were still arranged the way I left them. The photos on the mantle still showed our wedding and family vacations and my son's school pictures. Everything looked normal, and that normal feeling made it worse because it felt like the house itself was mocking me. My migraine was gone. I realized I could not feel the headache anymore. I could not feel anything at all. Only numbness, like my body shut down to survive the shock. Eventually I called my mother because I believed she would know what to do. I believed she would comfort me. I believed she would be on my side because mothers are supposed to protect their children. When she answered, I told her I needed her. I tried to explain what happened and the words felt stuck in my throat. I said I came home and found my husband and my sister together, and I said it had been going on for more than a year. There was silence on the line long enough that I wondered if the call dropped. I said Mom again. She finally spoke, but her voice was tight and controlled. She said things like that happen. She said they would talk later because she was in the middle of something. Then she hung up. That moment hit me almost as hard as what I saw on the couch. Because I expected my mother to react with anger or grief or at least concern. But she reacted like I was inconvenient. That night I did not go back to my house. I got a cheap hotel near the highway. The room smelled like old smoke and strong cleaner. The walls were thin and I could hear people arguing next door about money. I sat on the bed and stared at the ceiling and my phone stayed silent. No calls. No texts. No one asking if I was safe. No one asking where I was. No one telling me they loved me. That is when I understood I was not waking up from this. There was no misunderstanding to fix. This was real and I was alone. The hotel room became my prison for several days. I called in sick to work, which I never do. My boss sounded concerned but did not push. I stayed in bed and only got up to use the bathroom. My mind replayed memories on a loop like it was punishing me. I remembered dinner parties we hosted. My husband always sat my sister close to him. He always made sure her wine glass stayed full. He praised her taste. He said she appreciated the little things. I remembered how my sister dressed for casual family dinners like they were dates. Her hair was perfect, her makeup flawless. She leaned toward him when he talked. She touched his arm when she laughed right in front of me. I remembered a holiday dinner when I fell asleep on the couch after everyone ate. I was exhausted from work and I barely stayed awake. I woke up late and the house was dark. My husband was in bed. My sister's car was gone. At the time I thought nothing of it. I assumed she left and he cleaned up and went to sleep. Now I saw it differently. I remembered how she volunteered to help clean up. I remembered how he stayed behind too. How long were they alone together while I slept only a short distance away? Then I thought about my business trips. I traveled for work regularly and sometimes I was gone for days. My sister started offering to check on my husband. She said I worked so hard and someone should make sure he ate real food and not just takeout. I thanked her for that. I thanked her for spending time with my husband while I was away. I thought she was being kind. She brought him meals. They watched movies together. Once I called home by video and they were both on the couch. My sister answered his phone and said he was in the bathroom and they were just hanging out. I told myself it was normal. I told myself they were family. I told myself I was lucky to have help. Now I saw I was handing them private time like a gift. I thought about the little comments my sister made over the years. I used to treat them like awkward jokes, but now I could feel the sharpness hidden inside them. She once joked that it must be nice to have a career I chose. She said some people had to learn how to be decorative. She teased that I got the practical genes while she got stuck with the pretty ones. My mother laughed and said pretty is powerful too. Now I understood my sister was resentful. She looked at my life and decided she deserved it more. Growing up, our parents gave us roles. My sister was always described as the beautiful one. I was always described as the smart one. She learned her value came from looks. I learned my value came from working hard and being responsible. She dated men who treated her like decoration. She wanted someone stable, successful, and respectable. My husband looked like that from the outside. She saw him as a trophy. She wanted proof she could take what I had. And my husband saw her as an escape. A fun, attention-filled escape from a wife who worked too much. The betrayal was not only romantic. It was a full theft of my life. The worst part was my son. My son was a teenager old enough to understand right and wrong, and old enough to see pain on my face. But my sister had been building a special relationship with him. She took him to concerts I was too busy to attend. She bought him expensive sneakers I told him to save up for. She let him do things I would not allow. She positioned herself as the fun aunt and made me look like the boring mother who always worked and nagged about homework. When I called my son from that hotel a couple of days after everything collapsed, his voice sounded cold. He asked if I was coming home. I said I did not know where home was anymore. He said his dad told him. I walked out. I asked if his dad told him why. There was silence. I told him the truth. I said his father and his aunt had been having an affair for more than a year. More silence. Then my son said quietly that he kind of knew. Those words broke something inside me. I asked him how he could know and not tell me. He tried to explain. He said he did not know for sure, but he saw the way they looked at each other. He said he thought maybe he imagined it. He said he hoped it would go away. Then he said something that hurt more than I can explain. He said I was never around anyway. In that sentence, my son blamed me for their betrayal. He made it sound like I deserved it because I worked too hard. I ended the call without a proper goodbye because I could not speak through the grief. In that hotel room, I finally admitted a truth I did not want to face. I lost them before I found them on the couch. I just did not know it yet. A few days later, my father called. Not to check on me. Not to ask if I was safe. He called to summon me to a family meeting at my parents' house. He spoke in his firm voice, the voice he uses when he has already decided what is correct. He said we needed to discuss the situation like adults. He told me the day and the time and told me not to be late. I should have refused. But some small part of me still hoped they would come to their senses. I hoped my parents would realize how wrong this was and defend me. So I went. When I arrived, my sister's car was already there, and my husband's truck was there too. That told me they came together. Inside, they were all seated in the living room. My parents sat on one seat together. My sister and my husband sat side by side on the couch. Her hand rested on his knee like they were a couple at a holiday gathering. My son sat in a chair and would not look at me. There was no seat left for me. That detail felt deliberate. I stood in the doorway like a guest in my own family. My father cleared his throat and said they were there to figure out how to handle the situation with minimal damage to the family. Minimal damage. I repeated the words because I could not believe them. My husband cheated on me with my sister for more than a year, and they were talking about minimal damage like the main problem was inconvenience. My mother spoke quickly and said these things happen. She said people fall in love. She called it unfortunate but said it was nobody's fault. My father added that my sister was emotionally fragile and that I was always the strong one. He said I could handle this. I realized what they were doing. They were using my strength as an excuse to hurt me. They were saying I could survive betrayal so they could support the people who betrayed me. I looked at my son and asked if he had anything to say. He shifted uncomfortably and said it was complicated. He said I was never home. He said Dad and my sister were there and they got close and it just happened. It just happened. I repeated the phrase and my sister spoke with a trembling voice. She said she never meant to hurt me but she could not help how she felt. Tears rolled down her face. She asked if I thought it was easy for her. She said she felt guilty and she was suffering too. My mother immediately comforted her like she was the wounded one. She patted her hand and told her not to cry. I looked around waiting for someone to notice how insane this was. No one did. My mother said my sister felt things more deeply than I do. She said it was tearing her apart and she needed support. She said she needed family. Then I asked what about me. My father answered that I would be fine because I always am. He said I had my career and I was resilient. He said my sister needed them more than I did. In that moment I understood that in their eyes my feelings mattered less because I could function. They had decided my pain was acceptable because I could still go to work and pay bills. Then my husband spoke like he was negotiating a business deal. He said we could do divorce the easy way or the hard way. He told me not to drag it out in court. He said we should split assets fairly and move on. He told me to think about my son. He said my son did not need his parents fighting. He said my son needed stability. My sister added that the house was closer to my son's school, and it made sense for him to stay there during the week. She said I could see him on weekends like she was giving me a gift. My father said nobody stole anything and I was being dramatic. He said it did not need to become a war. My mother told me to handle it with dignity. She told me not to post online and not to embarrass the family. She said they had a reputation in the community. That is when the truth became completely clear to me. This meeting was not about my well-being. It was about controlling the story and protecting their image. My mother insisted again that my sister did not choose this. She said love is not a choice and my sister being there to work through it showed she cared about family. I looked at my sister and saw her acting tears again like she always could. She had always been skilled at playing the victim. I asked what happens now. My husband said we put the house on the market, split the money, and work out custody that makes sense for everyone. I said by makes sense you mean he lives with you. My husband did not deny it. I looked at my son one more time. He still would not meet my eyes. At that point something in me went quiet. The part of me that wanted to beg for fairness died. I said fine. I will sign what you want but I am done with all of you. My father told me not to be childish. He said we were still family. I told him quietly that we were not. Then I walked out and nobody followed. Nobody called my name. Nobody begged me to stay. That night I found a studio apartment across town. It was small, old, and in a rough building but it was mine. It was a place where no one had betrayed me yet. The divorce papers arrived a few weeks later. They were brutal. They said the house would be sold. They said the split would favor him. They offered small support for a short time. My son would live with his father, and I would get limited visitation. I signed everything because what was the point? The people I loved had already chosen a side and it was not mine. Moving into that studio felt like falling off a cliff. The neighborhood was unfamiliar and loud. There were fences and cracked concrete. Cars sat in odd places. You could hear neighbors through thin walls. The apartment had one room for everything. The kitchen was a hot plate and a tiny fridge. The bathroom had stains that never fully went away. The carpet was old and marked. I moved in with 2 suitcases and my laptop. I slept on an air mattress. I ate cereal standing up because I had no table. The commute to work became a nightmare. I took buses and trains and it took forever. I left before sunrise and came home late exhausted. At work my coworkers stopped asking if I was okay because my face answered for me. I wore the same few outfits again and again. I moved through my days like a machine. My son was supposed to visit that first weekend. I tried anyway. I bought snacks he liked. I planned pancakes. I made the air mattress extra firm so we could sit and watch movies on my laptop. He texted and said he could not make it. He had plans with friends. He said maybe next time. Next weekend he had a concert with his dad. After that it was homework and then another excuse and then silence. I stopped planning for his visits because planning made the disappointment worse. After months I felt like I was slowly drowning. Not in a dramatic way. Just quietly sinking. Work felt automatic. Home felt empty. Weekends stretched long and dry. One Saturday I stood in my small kitchen area and looked at thrift store bowls and cheap ingredients. I remembered something from my childhood. I used to like baking. My grandmother taught me and those memories were still warm and clean in my mind. So I baked a simple chocolate cake. As it baked, the apartment filled with a smell that felt like comfort for the first time in a long time. When I ate a slice it tasted good. It tasted like home used to taste before betrayal. Later my neighbor knocked. She was an older woman I had seen in the hallway. She told me she smelled cake through the walls and had not had homemade cake in years. I gave her a slice and she ate it right there and said it was very good. She told me I should sell cakes. I laughed and said I was not that good, but she insisted and said she knew what good cake tasted like. That night I lay on my air mattress thinking about it. I needed extra money because support would not last forever, and I needed something to live for besides survival. I started small. I baked cupcakes and took them to work. I left them with a note and asked for a small price. They sold fast. The next week I took pre-orders and made more and they sold too. I made a social media page for the bakery. I chose a name that matched how I felt. A fresh start. I posted pictures of cakes made in my tiny kitchen. The photos were not perfect, but they looked honest. My first real order came from someone who wanted a birthday cake. She paid me enough that I could buy better ingredients and still keep a little profit. In that moment, I felt like I could breathe again. Orders slowly grew. Friends of friends. People in the neighborhood. People who liked the idea of homemade baked goods. After some months, I was making enough extra money to buy better groceries and replace old clothes and feel less desperate. My son called sometimes, but it felt like duty. He kept the calls short and he never asked how I lived. He never asked about the apartment. I felt like a box he checked once in a while. My sister posted happy photos online. She posted dinner dates, trips, and pictures that included my son smiling with them. They looked like a perfect family and it made me sick, so I stopped looking. Then something happened that changed my business and my life. A bride messaged me. She said her original baker canceled late and she needed a wedding cake soon. I should have said no because a wedding cake is huge and complicated. But she sounded desperate and the money could change my month. So I said yes. I practiced constantly. I watched tutorials late at night. I made mistakes and tried again. My small kitchen turned into a workshop of sugar and stress. When I delivered the cake, the bride cried and said it was perfect. She posted photos and tagged me. People saw it and followed my page. Messages came quickly and orders grew. A local food blogger who attended the wedding asked to feature me. She loved my story of rebuilding from nothing. She said the struggle made it inspiring. After the feature, my orders exploded. I could not keep up. I raised prices and created a waitlist. Soon I rented time in a commercial kitchen so I could work properly with professional equipment. For the first time since my marriage fell apart, I felt like I was winning. I felt like I was building a new life with my own hands. And that is when my sister decided she could not let me have it. The sabotage began quietly. A bad review appeared saying a hair was found in a cake. Then another said the cake was dry. Then another claimed I was late and damaged the order. I knew many of those complaints were not real, but they were believable enough to scare new customers. Then trolls appeared in my comments mocking the business. Cancellations started. Inquiries slowed. Then the worst moment came. A customer sent me a photo of a cake box with a dead cockroach clearly positioned for the camera. She said she could not serve the cake at a party. I knew the insect was planted. I knew my kitchen was clean and inspected. But I could not prove sabotage. The photo spread locally and people shared it and judged me. Inspectors found nothing wrong. But the damage was already done. My business collapsed quickly. I lost most of my orders. I still had to pay for the kitchen space. I watched my savings drain and I felt the old drowning feeling return. During that time, my sister posted smiling celebration photos again like she was enjoying my pain. My parents cheered for her online. I did not know yet that she arranged fake profiles, wrote fake reviews, and paid people to attack my business. I did not know my ex-husband helped her by suggesting routes and timing. I only knew I was being hit from all sides and could not understand why. Then karma arrived through someone unexpected. My son found the truth. One evening he was alone in my ex-husband's house. My sister left her phone unlocked on a table. My son picked it up without intending to snoop, but he saw my name in a message thread and he read. He kept reading and saw everything. Messages where my sister bragged about planting the cockroach. Messages about fake reviews. Messages about paying people to attack my reputation. Messages where they laughed about how easy it was to destroy what I built. He also saw messages between my sister and my ex-husband planning it together. He read a line where my ex-husband said my son was a kid and did not notice anything and that my son was already on their side. That message changed my son. He heard them come home laughing. He stood in the living room holding my sister's phone. She saw him and turned pale. My ex-husband tried to demand the phone back. My son confronted them. He said they destroyed his mother and laughed about it. He said he read everything. My sister tried to cry and claim it was complicated. My ex-husband tried to control the situation and told my son to watch his tone. My son realized his father did not care about truth or kindness. He only cared about winning and owning things, including his own child. My son said he was leaving that night. My ex-husband tried to stop him by saying it was a school night and my place was too far and my apartment was in a bad neighborhood. My son answered that my place was honest and theirs was not. He threatened to send screenshots to everyone if they tried to stop him. He packed a bag and left. He took public transit across town and arrived late at night at my door. When I opened the door, he looked smaller than I remembered. His eyes were red and wet. He said he was sorry and asked if he could come in. I pulled him inside and held him while he cried. We sat on the air mattress while he showed me all the screenshots. As I looked at the messages, something cold and clear formed in my chest. It was not just anger. It was clarity. I finally had proof. Proof that my sister and my ex-husband worked together to destroy me again, even after they already took my marriage. My son apologized again and again. He said he did not understand before. He said he was manipulated and he was selfish and he believed the easy story that I was the problem because I worked too much. I told him I was glad he came, but I also told him the truth. His choice hurt me deeply and we could not pretend it never happened. If he wanted to stay and rebuild our relationship, it would take time and effort. He agreed. He moved into my tiny studio. He slept on the couch while I kept the air mattress. He took the long commute to school. He worked with me on weekends without pay. He learned what it means to build something from nothing. He gave up the easy life my ex-husband offered. He stopped asking for expensive things and learned budgeting and discipline. Then we decided to tell the truth the smart way. Instead of posting rage online, we created a careful message. We filmed a simple video in the kitchen. I explained that my business was sabotaged with fake reviews and planted evidence. I did not use names, but people who knew us understood. My son spoke too. He admitted he abandoned me and he apologized publicly. He said I was not a failure and I was sabotaged and I kept fighting. The video spread quickly. People shared it. Former customers came forward saying the bad reviews felt fake. The blogger who attacked me earlier reached out and offered to do a follow-up story, and this time she verified everything. Slowly business returned and then grew again. People love a comeback story and this time it was backed by evidence. My son kept showing up. He worked hard. He learned responsibility and humility. He did not earn forgiveness instantly, but he earned a new chance day by day. Meanwhile, karma finally came for the cheaters too. My sister tried to lock my ex-husband down with a pregnancy announcement, but it did not keep him loyal. He cheated again and left her. The same man she stole from me did not stay with her once life got hard. My sister ended up alone with a baby and little money. She had to work long hours. She struggled with rent and bills. My parents helped her for a while, but even they could not carry everything forever. I did not celebrate her suffering the way I once imagined I would. I mostly felt tired and distant. But I did think about the baby because the baby did nothing wrong. I did not rescue my sister. I did not give her my money. I did not invite her into my life again. She burned that bridge and I did not rebuild it. But I did one small thing that I could live with. I quietly gathered information about community resources. Food programs, housing support, daycare, help, legal aid. I left it where my parents could find it without making it a dramatic moment. I did not sign my name. I did not ask for thanks. That way the baby had a chance without me having to pretend my sister deserved my kindness. Over time my bakery grew again. We expanded. We moved into a better home. My son grew into a better person. He applied to college and wanted to study business so he could help the bakery long term. My ex-husband moved on to another woman because that is what he does. My parents grew older and started to regret their choices, but regret did not rebuild trust. They wanted forgiveness, but forgiveness is not a button you press. It is something that takes time and honest change, and some things never return to what they were. Years passed and I stopped remembering the exact date of the betrayal. That surprised me because for a long time that day lived in my body like a wound. Then one day it was just another day. That is when I understood the real victory was not watching them suffer. The real victory was building a life so full and stable that their opinions and their cruelty stopped controlling my mind. My peace was not forgiveness. My peace was freedom. And that is why karma did not need my help. Karma worked on its own while I kept living, building, and becoming someone they could not break again.